Hey guys, welcome to the Chan. We got another video coming at you. I got my laptop with me because I need it for my notes because today is part 2 of working in childcare today. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a doozy. What's pretty great is I had a former coworker of mine who's friends with me on Facebook reach out to me because she saw my videos and we were talking about some things, and so she told me some things that happened after I left. So I'm gonna talk about it because I can. She no longer works at this establishment. I don't work at this establishment. I'm not gonna name any names of the places or the people because I don't want somehow it to track back to me. But that's how we're gonna do this, like we did last time. Yeah, cool. So a bit of a recap. As I mentioned, my part 1 of working in childcare. If you haven't seen it, watch it. That's where some drama happened in there. I worked in a daycare from August of 2020 until about beginning of June 2022. I worked there for about almost 2 years. It was a great experience with the kids and some co-teachers. They were cool, but like things just started to like fall apart, and it just felt like there was no management, and it was like it's like a sinking ship. Yeah. No disrespect for any of the parents or the kids that go to the school or the cool coworkers that are still there that were my former coworkers. It's a lot to do with the management and some of the staff that they've hired. Yeah, and how they handle certain things. So yeah, let's go. Okay, first thing I want to talk about is I was told, let me scroll through my message, is that I was told by my coworker, my former coworker, through our messages, is that there was discrepancy in pay rates, which is very much on brand for this school because my cat has the zoomies. When I was hired in initially, because I found the application process on an app called Handshake? Yeah, Handshake. Because I was still in college at the time and I was looking for a job for immediately after college because I was graduating in 2020 and I'm like, I need a job. And this is the perfect time to try to look for a job, is during the mix of like the first wave of a pandemic. It's insane. Because things were still locked down and whatever. But so I found I found the application on Handshake. I applied. I didn't really care. I was like, I need to find a job. Sure, it was like miles away from where I was living at the time, and I had to uproot myself and move here to where I'm living now, but whatever. I literally uproot where I lived before to here for this job, which is insane to think about. I uprooted my life for a childcare job. But anyways, I digress. So on the application form, it said that I would be making $12 an hour originally. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. That's more than what I make right now at McDonald's, where I'm working at currently, because I need a job to finance, like, just, yeah. So, because I was making like 9 something at McDonald's. So I was like, $12, that's pretty cool. And so, I apply, I go through the interview process, I get hired in, and then I think it was like right before I actually started working, when they were like going through my paperwork and my background check that I had to go through, and I did a tour of the school to look around. I never met any of the teachers, which annoyed me. Every other teacher that got hired in, they got to go into the classrooms and say hi to the new staff member that was coming in. I never got that, which just kind of sucked, whatever. But I was told during that time, when I was getting my little self-tour of the school, that I'd be making 13 an hour, not 12, which I was like, oh, cool, that's even better. So yeah. And then at some point, they never notified me, but I think because I was like working as an assistant teacher, they gave me a pay grade situation to 14, and I'm pretty sure $14.75 or $15 at this school was what a lead teacher made, and I wasn't a lead teacher. And then I think they gave me a small little like cent raise, like $4.25 or $4.50, because I was complaining about Rachel. Remember Rachel? So there was that. But what my friend told me is that when she was hired in at $15 an hour, which is as much as like a lead teacher makes. So there were some discrepancies there. I'm not mad that she made $15. I'm just like mad at the school for not keeping everything the same, if that makes sense. Like if you're gonna pay lead teachers more, pay the lead teachers more. Why is whatever. Another thing she mentioned is that they promised her a $300 sign-on bonus that she never got. Oh, and then another thing is that they also promised her, I'm reading through the messages, to be $1,550 after 60 days, and that never happened. So, yeah. Oh, and I want to throw in a small little tangent about Rachel again, because I remembered this other story about Rachel after I'd already done the previous video that I didn't know when would be the right time to put a part 2, because I didn't have initially a lot of things for a part 2 because I didn't know what to think about for a part 2. But so this this would have been around Valentine's Day of 2021. I was still in the baby room with Rachel and another coworker who doesn't work there anymore. She ended up moving to Florida. We're gonna call her Cammie. Cammie and me, we were working that day in that room, and Rachel had the day off because this was at this point where we worked 4 days a week and had 1 weekday off, and then we had the weekend off because the school was closed. And it was a Friday. It was like the Friday before Valentine's Day, and we had this like assignment thing that this project thing that we were doing to send home with the kids. We were making them little Valentines to give to their parents. I was using my Polaroid camera to take a picture, and then we're gonna like laminate the picture on this heart that they painted and give it to the parents. But Rachel wasn't there for that. But Rachel wanted to be there for that. So on her day off, she came into work to see the babies, mostly baby C. And also she was going to write the Friday love notes. Because every Friday she writes a little love note. And of course it irritated me because I was in that room for so long. I'm like, I can write the notes, Rachel. And she's like, no, I'll just come by and do it. And when she came by on her day off and she wasn't even clocked in, I had already done the notes and sent them off. So I was like, you, Rachel. It's so infuriating. And she was like hovering over us as we were like doing the project. It's like, go away. So, other juicy things. So this happened after I left, like literally after I left. After I left, they hired in some other staff members, not necessarily to replace me. They were just like hiring a bunch of new teachers. And I had left, I think, right before this teacher's first day. So, my coworker friend who sent me messages, she was fired, from the school because this teacher didn't like the fact that she was yelling at the kids. And it's like, she wasn't like screaming like mean things at them. It's like a hey, attention getter thing. Like if there's a kid that's like climbing on the table, it's like, hey, get down from there situation. Like it's a normal response. You're not like screaming mean things at them. You're like, hey, get off the table. I'm not gonna ask again. And this was like in a toddler room base because like toddlers, they don't listen. None of the kids listen. Love them, but they don't listen. So she was fired for that because she was yelling too loudly. And I was told another teacher who no longer works there, she works at a different daycare, childcare facility, whatever. It was like basically the same thing. The same new teacher got upset because she was yelling. So she reported her. She apparently, I'm reading from my messages, she got put on suspension. And she was waiting to hear back from like the head boss because like there's like the person that owns the building, he doesn't really go in there anymore. Then there's the head boss, and then there's the 2 education directors. So she was waiting to hear back from the head boss, and then apparently she didn't hear back from him or whatever, and in that time of waiting she had heard back from another job, and so she just left. So there was that. That's great. That's fantastic. Oh, and a random thing. I don't think I mentioned this on my first part. I think I'm talking about a lot of stories in this part, but it's okay. It's little small stories kind of pieced together. So when I started working, they were obviously wearing masks. COVID was taken very seriously then. So it was kind of a thing that, certain kids might be exposed by like maybe a parent or other family member and someone had been exposed, so that kid had to stay home. This was back when like the quarantine procedures were a little bit more extreme, but that's fine. It was like we didn't know what was going on back then with COVID. It was like longer than like what's currently now, I think, a 3-day waiting process for quarantine. So when one person was exposed or one person got positive, that shut down an entire room, plus those teachers. It was probably about early 2021, like January or February, like that, because I feel like it was like during like the colder months. It wasn't December anymore. I'm pretty sure it was about those times. We had all of the classrooms but 3 closed due to COVID exposures, because a lot of the like some of the kids had siblings that were in some of the other rooms, so they had to close as well or whatever. But every time that happened, like, and we just had 3 classrooms open, and there was just, okay, so there's myself, Rachel, school age, first ups. So I think there's 4 teachers total, maybe 5, that came in that week, plus the education directors and like the head boss. And we were still open. We were still expected to take these kids when we had like a bunch of like kids in the schools either had COVID or the parents had COVID or whatever. We were still expected to be open. And it frustrated me for like these 2 reasons. One, there wasn't many staff members there to help out for like breaks. So it was very chaotic. And 2, my whole thought process is like, hey, if we just have 3 classrooms open, why don't we take the time to close it down completely and scrub everything clean? Like, we could be there to like clean the entire school. And I think I mentioned that to somebody. I'm pretty sure I did. And the response is like, no, everything's fine. Like, we have this like, what was it called? This like humidifier thing, this halo thing. What is the halo? Hold on. Okay. So it was a halo disinfection system, whatever. And it was always put out like at the end of the day to run around like and like do whatever inside the school. I don't know what disinfection things do. Like, I know they obviously spray things out, but why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Hey, what are you doing back there? What are you doing back there? Nothing? Okay. Yeah, I put my tree out a little early. It's because our male cat, it's his first Christmas ever. He's never been around a tree, so I wanted to get him used to it before I started adding ornaments on it. But never mind. So we had the halo thing. It was a disinfection machine, whatever, and it was supposed to clean the school. And we also had cleaning people, cleaning staff. And I say with quotation because I feel like if there were actual cleaning staff members, those floors would have been way cleaner than what they were. I'm really outing this school right now. Basically, what I disliked the most when I was in my other room before I left, if the kids kicked their shoes off and they weren't wearing socks that day, you could tell how dirty the floors were because their feet were kind of darkened. And we tried our best to keep it clean. Like, there'd be moments where, like, during nap time, which was like the best time to do a lot of cleaning, I would take like a soapy spray bottle and just spray the floor and get paper towels and just like scrub the floor, because I didn't feel like they were actually mopping the floors. Yeah, it was really, I don't know about the whole cleaning people thing. It just makes me very uncertain. Like, also with like the carpets, it didn't feel like they were vacuumed. And like every so often we'd have a day where we'd come in, the school would be closed, like let's say like Columbus Day or President's Day or MLK Day or something like that. The school would be closed, but we'd come in, we'd have like a training day or just like whatever. They provide us with lunch for that day, and then we'd just spend the rest of the day just cleaning the school. And by school, it'd just be like our classroom. We would just clean our classroom, and when we felt like we were done, we could just leave. And yeah. I felt like that was the only time that school was getting really cleaned, and a lot of toys were getting really cleaned because like we didn't have the time to do all of that because no one provided us time to like take all these toys out and put them in the washing machine and put them in the dryer and then put them back, or literally like hand wash all of these toys. It was insane. One last thing before I end things. I need to see if I can say this real quick. Okay, so I'll just, yeah. So the school would have like two like evaluation situations. Like obviously the state would come in to make sure things are as according to the state's standards. So like someone from like the what's it called? What's it called? Ohio Department of Child Family Services. That's it. They would come in, look around the school, make sure like things are properly labeled, the locks on the cabinets worked, we're using the proper hand washing moments like between meals, blowing noses, diaper changes, other things, but those are just like the small things that I'm just listing off. I don't think out of all the times that I've been there, I think we've passed the state one a few times. I don't think we've always passed them though. Then there's like another one specifically for the school that would come in. We'd have someone from the organization that relates to the school, because like we were for a franchise school. Like this was owned by another person, but we were franchised from this main school. And they would come in doing like the same thing. Like they'd look and see if we're doing the diaper changing correctly, if you're doing the hand washing thing properly, if your cribs and nap area things are up to the correct things, labels are correctly, whatever. And I think out of all of the times that I've been there, we've never passed that one specifically. Right before we left, we failed it again. And I'm just sitting here going, how is it that we failed almost every single time I've been there? Because like it's always been by a little bit. Like one time it was like the locks on the cabinets because some of the people, well, hello there. The cabinets on like in the kitchen would like be easily pulled. There's supposed to be like a lock on it. That was a thing that was dinged. Mislabeling on like diaper information, diaper forms being mislabeled or whatever. Just very small, simple things that you would think after so many times of being like told you're doing it wrong and you're failing, that they would fix it. But I don't ever think we ever passed it. Yeah. I think that's where I'm gonna end things for part 2 on childcare talk time. I think there's probably a part 3 if I can think of more things that I haven't mentioned here. But yeah. Anyways, peace out. Take it easy, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. My cat's on the couch. Bye.